The blizzard did not care about legends. It howled across the shattered peaks with the indifference of something ancient and mindless, burying the old roads, swallowing the screams of things that dared to be alive within it. And yet, through the white wall of death, a single silhouette moved. Steady, unhurried. A man in a gray coat with frost crusting his beard and a pack on his back that clinked with tools whose purpose no creature of these mountains could name. His name was Rhett. He almost walked past them. Almost. The chains were what caught his eye, not the dragons themselves, because even half buried in snow, 3 dragons chained to an obsidian altar were the kind of thing that made a man stop walking and start thinking. The chains were not iron. They were something older, black-veined crystal that pulsed with a slow, sick light, and Rhett recognized the architecture of the enchantment the way a surgeon recognizes a badly set bone, with professional irritation. Someone put real effort into this, he thought, and they were still an idiot. The largest dragon, a male with scales the color of deep ocean water and one eye swollen shut, opened the other eye and fixed it on Rhett. The gaze held the particular quality of something that has given up, but has not yet forgotten what hope tasted like. Human. The voice came out cracked and dry. Move on. There is nothing here for your kind. Rhett set his pack down in the snow. My name's Rhett, he said, and I've been walking for 11 days through this range looking for something interesting. He crouched, examining the nearest chain. This qualifies. The second dragon, smaller, female, her scales of burnished copper, lifted her head with visible effort. Her name, Rhett would later learn, was Alara. She had been chained longest. Her eyes were the color of old amber, and they held a warning in them. The warlock Day placed these seals, Alara said. He is not dead. He will return. Day. Rhett repeated the name flatly, like a man consulting an internal ledger. Tall. Smells like sulfur and old contracts. Probably has a tower somewhere with a lot of uninvited ravens. A silence. You know him, said the third dragon, youngest, barely larger than a draft horse, scales still growing in patches. This one's name was Wa, and he was trying very hard to look threatening despite being visibly malnourished. Professionally, Rhett said. He pulled a toolkit from his pack. The instruments inside were not magical, which was itself remarkable. They were mechanical, fine-toothed things of brass and steel, calibrated to fractions that had no name in the common tongue. He selected one and held it up to the pulsing crystal chain with the expression of a man reading a map. The enchantment keys off draconic biology, he said, mostly to himself. Blood resonance. Clever. Cruel. Typical. He paused. He's been teaching himself from the New York scrolls. I recognized the signature. Alara's amber eyes sharpened. The New York scrolls were destroyed 3 centuries ago. They were burned, Rhett corrected without looking up. I have the copies. Another silence. Longer this time. Will looked at Alara. Alara looked at the ocean blue male, whose name was Me. The elder, the one who had stopped speaking weeks ago. Me was watching the human with an expression that had shifted from resignation to something more dangerous. Calculation. What are you? Me asked. It was the first full sentence he had spoken in a month. Rhett began disassembling the first locking node. His hands were bare despite the cold, bare and steady, the hands of someone who had made peace with discomfort long ago. I'm a fixer, he said. Specifically, I fix things that other people thought were permanent. The warlock. Will be annoyed, Rhett agreed. That's fine. I've met Day 3 times. The first time he tried to have me killed. The second time he tried to have me bought. He paused, and something in his tone shifted, not louder, but heavier. The third time, I burned down his original tower. We have an understanding now. The node came apart in his hands. The chain pulsed, once, hard, and then the light in it began to die. Alara hissed in something between pain and sudden, terrifying relief as 20% of the binding's weight lifted from her. Her copper wings, pressed flat for weeks, twitched involuntarily. Rhett moved to the second node without ceremony. Why? Wa asked. The young dragon's voice was smaller than he meant it to be. Why help us? Humans fear us. Hunt us. Chain us. Some humans, Rhett said. He found the second node's weakness, a hairline fault in the crystal structure where Day had rushed his work, and smiled thinly. Those humans have never met a high-turn dragon in full flight. The sound they make when they pass through a storm system at speed is the closest thing to music that the natural world produces. He glanced up at Alara. Your high turn, northeastern subbreed. The chord interval in your scale's resonance frequency is a minor seventh. Alara stared at him. You studied us, me said slowly. I study everything, Rhett said. It's a character flaw. The second node cracked apart. The chain went dark. Alara's gasp was the sound of lungs remembering what full breath felt like. Also, he added, Day is building something in the southern valleys with the life force he's been draining from you. Something that will eventually kill approximately 40,000 people, including a city called was Rest, which I'm told was named after a dragon who died saving it 2 centuries ago. Well, made a sound. Not a coincidence, Rhett said. He's thorough in his symbolism. He reached the third node. Mi's chain, the deepest keyed, the one that had been suppressing the elder dragon's fire glands for so long that the tissue damage would need months to heal. Rhett's hand slowed here. He felt along the crystal structure with the care of someone diffusing something that had been trying to kill him for the past 30 seconds. This one, he said quietly, is going to hurt you. I'm sorry. There is no way around that. Mi met his gaze. Do it. I'll need you to hold still. And I'll need you to trust me. The elder dragon, centuries old, scarred from a dozen wars, chained by a warlock he had underestimated, looked at this human with frost in his beard and brass tools in his bare hands. This human who had walked 11 days through a blizzard and named the sound of dragon flight as music. You have it, Mi said. Rhett broke the third note. The sound Mi made was not a scream. It was something below a scream, a resonance in the chest, in the bones, in the rock face behind them. Snow fell from the peaks above in small cascades. But Mi held. And then the chain went dark and went cold and fell away in pieces that the blizzard immediately buried. For a moment, nothing moved except the storm. Then Mi breathed, and the breath that came out was flame. Weak, sputtering, barely more than a candle. But fire, real fire, for the first time in a year. He stared at it with an expression that no human word has ever been built to hold. Rhett packed his tools in silence. He gave them the moment. Alara spoke first. What do you want in return? Directions, Rhett said, shouldering his pack. Today's current tower. I have to go be professionally annoying at him before he finishes whatever he's building. We will take you, Mi said. It was not an offer. It was a statement of fact delivered by something that had just remembered it was enormous. Rhett looked up at 3 dragons, one the blue of deep ocean, one the copper of old coins, one the mottled silver green of a thing still becoming itself, all watching him with the particular intensity of creatures renegotiating their understanding of what human meant. He nodded. That works. Despite everything, despite the chain still raw on his legs and the cold and the hunger and the month of despair, made a sound that was, unmistakably, a laugh. What is a fixer? He asked again. Rhett allowed himself a small smile, the first of the entire encounter. Someone who looked at the world, he said, decided it was broken, and got very, very good at tools. Above them, the blizzard howled. Below it, 3 dragons and 1 human walked toward a warlock's tower. The warlock was not going to have a good evening.